Matched or trashed? What to expect from green weddings? Sylvia Earle, an American biologist and renowned oceanographer, recently said in one of her tweets, "We're equipped with the superpower of knowing. We are one species with an oversized impact, an oversized responsibility, and I'd say an oversized opportunity to take what we now know and act." The Big Fat Indian Wedding is as famous for Seema Auntie on Netflix as it is for its grandeur and multiple day celebrations, where we nearly invite our entire neighborhood and maybe sometimes even people we do not even know to witness our vows. It is always honestly all right to invite hundreds of people for a wedding and create some wonderful memories. But is it right to turn this holy union into an environmental disaster? Let us see what is there to know about waste when we think of Indian weddings. But before we get into it, remember, we have about 1.1 crore weddings happening in India every day. As per an article in Hindu, a lavish Indian wedding with its usual fanfare can create about 4,000 kilos of garbage.
So what do you think is garbage really made of? Well, a typical band baja wedding with a guest level of roughly 500 people generate 15,000 water bottles, roughly 30 bottles per person. Now those are staggering numbers. This is just for the drinking water. Count the mixers used to make that Patiala peg or that virgin mojito for that Sangeet night, and the numbers go through the roof. Here is some food for thought. Did you know almost all the packaged water today contains high amounts of microplastic in it? Yes, so we all have some kind of microplastic in our body today. In-room hampers with plastic trays placed in rooms packed with edible items will drive up the amount of plastic waste generated far higher than you can imagine. And here let me highlight that each bottle takes about 450 years to decompose. Yes, that's right, 450 years. And plastic never gets recycled, it only gets downcycled. Did you know that garments made from recycled plastic or polyester leach out microplastics into the sewage and eventually into rivers and our ocean after every wash? Well, that's how it is.
1,000 plastic straws at the minimum are used in any event, which takes about 200 years to degrade, and it is the 7th most collected item on the beach. It is believed that by 2050, about 99% of the seabirds will be affected by plastic straws alone.
The Asian Age in an article quoted how about 1/5 of the food served today at weddings and social gatherings is discarded. After all, there's as much one can eat, and we must not forget the fact that large percentage of Indian population today still sleeps hungry every night. Yeah, we just mentioned some of the immediate waste generated. Well, there is honestly no concrete statistic on how much of reusable waste wedding ceremonies generate, like artificial flowers, which are ultimately discarded, lavish, heavy Indian attires, probably worn once or twice, or the electric power consumed for even a 2-hour event. Let alone, let's have the carbon footprint generated when guests commute to and fro to an event or for the wedding or a social gathering. Yes, this is the impact an Indian wedding can have on our environment. Though we are not against the concept of a lavish wedding here at Green Miner, but turning a holy union into an environmental disaster is certainly not needed at this juncture. The world is staring at the effects of climate change.
Keeping this in mind, my husband Ashwin and I started Green Miner, which is an eco-friendly event consultancy, more specifically weddings. And before we say more about Green Miner, let us retrace our steps. The journey of Green Miner actually began on one fine day when Ashwin, my husband, and I met at a beach cleanup in Mumbai. Over several post-cleanup breakfast dates, talk in schools and colleges, and weekends of cleanup, our love blossomed amidst the trash that we picked up. Our dates often involve conversation of the impact of plastic pollution and environmental degradation in our lives, and how we could maybe someday do our bit to change the situation on ground. The conversations over trash culminated into thoughts of marriage And that's how finally we decided to tie the knot. We were very clear from the very outset that if we were to walk down the aisle as husband and wife, the celebrations around it will be an eco-friendly one. As a starting step, we approached several event companies to help us plan an eco-friendly wedding. But to them, the concept of having no packaged water or minimal food items on the menu was alien. I mean, no one really understood how and what we wanted. In fact, they wanted to educate our guests, and we didn't want our wedding to turn into an awareness program. So we then decided to plan it on our own and took a step-by-step approach to every line item that could generate plastic. And believe it or not, our backup recyclers for the wedding actually went back empty-handed. And that was like the biggest joy that we could really get. Post our wedding, we started getting queries on how we went about executing it. Many even coming to us and saying that it looked like a normal wedding. This actually put us in shock. We both looked at each other and in that moment realized that we need to do something to help couples and families who are really thinking environment and wanting to cross the bridge. Lo and behold, that's how Green Mina was born. This is where we really see the opportunity to really bring about a change and equip others to think green. In fact, some of the very common questions that are asked to us, we would want to talk about it. First being, are eco-friendly weddings more lavish or are they more simple? Honestly, it totally depends on the couple and the families. There is nothing that says that eco-friendly weddings or sustainable weddings will be very lavish, pompous, extravagant, or will be very simple. Indian weddings have always been sustainable until actually commercialization took over so many other things. Open photo albums of your parents and, getting married 25, 30 years ago, and we'll see our answers there. Now many of us also ask us if eco-friendly weddings are cheaper or more expensive than normal weddings. Honestly, again, the answer is simple. It is the same cost. Yes, certain elements will cost more, maybe because we are stuck in the vicious loop of demand and supply. But this can be offsetted by balancing, out some of the other elements like not going for pre-wedding shoots or, going for simple digital e-invites or even upcycling the bride and groom attire. One of the other questions are artificial flowers not better than local or real flowers? No, they are not. Local flowers go into composting, thus closing the loop. But artificial flowers ultimately have an end life and that leads into a landfill. Any artificial flower made for a wedding is only used for 3 to 4 weddings max, after which they are discarded. Why we cannot use plastic bottles and then recycle them? That's the other question. Honestly, plastic never gets recycled, only downcycled. So it is best to first start avoid using it.
We can go on and on about the list. With the interest of time, does help you with some elements which we think you can take up as an individual next wedding or social gathering. Well, apart from decor, where we can encourage local flowers or use of customized decor, one can drastically reduce on food wastage by cutting down the items on the food menu. Tying up the NGOs that distribute food to the poor will greatly reduce the food wastage. Yes, avoiding plastic bottles and merely replacing them with water dispensers can greatly help to cut down on the amount of plastic used at weddings. Here's how we can help you in planning the green wedding. E-invites, wedding rental attires, planting trees, helping with sustainable in-room packaging options, eco-friendly wedding favors, sustainable signages. Any and every attempt makes a difference. But challenge here is to find something within that makes you do this. And yes, like Sylvia Earle said, the power is in you knowing of the impact, knowing the fact that we can make a difference, and yes, finally executing the same.
We are often asked how much waste can one event even generate. Yes, it is important to inculcate sustainability in our daily lives, but equally important to be conscious of the waste that one event can generate, because now we know that it is a lot. And we also know that a lot can be done to stop it. The effects of climate change are already upon us. And later we delay the action, the more we will suffer. We can sit in this room and talk about climate change and its effect for hours. But if we don't back that talk with actions, I'm afraid little will change on the ground. We will end this talk with a very renowned environmental researcher's quote, Dr. Jane Goodall. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. Thank you.